and I'm not sure where that finished up. And secondly, the ACCC has been looking closely at NBN. How do you see the interaction between NBN Co and the ACCC in the future?
Okay. First of all, on the freedom of information, I think that we're expecting that we'll be subject to freedom of information. Now, there's clearly some information which we would like to keep confidential. We don't think it's in the public interest for it to be subject to freedom of information. That is, if we're in negotiations with companies who are supplying us stuff, it would really be very silly to have all our cost models provided out in the public domain. We wouldn't then get the best deal for the public if we did that. So there's a balance in there. Now I'm hoping now the freedom of information process itself is quite involved. I'm hoping if it does happen, and I expect it to happen, that we won't see that kind of... and the argument is, by the way, well, Australia Post is subject to it, so why shouldn't NBN Co? I just hope we don't see that kind of ratios that we've seen on questions on notice also happen with freedom of information, because it really is, I mean, it will consume a chunk of the company's resources in answering some of this stuff. So I guess it's just that balance in there. The second part of your question, Peter, related to the relationships with the ACCC. It's a very important relationship for a company such as NBN Co. We've certainly tried to engage with the ACCC, and I believe personally, I guess we'd have to talk to Graham Samuels and some of his folks whether they believe we're doing a good job of keeping them informed. We're certainly trying to do that. We've been, I think, completely open with the ACCC about all the stuff we've been doing, the product structures, the pricing, even some of our early thinking to see, look, how does this sit with the regulator? Are we headed the right direction, headed the wrong direction? Probably the most interesting issue that came up was around this whole debate about points of interconnect. And we had a view about how you would design the network and what you would do, but we also recognise this is a policy decision. It's an industry structuring decision. The government chose to take that to the ACCC. The ACCC examined it. We worked very closely with the ACCC, providing them with information, giving them all the information we possibly could, and then when the ACCC made a decision, we got on and executed it. Didn't argue about it. Our job is to execute then, because it became government policy. So I would hope that if someone was to ask Graham Samuel and his team that how's the relationship with NBN Co, I'd hope they would be reasonably positive. That's certainly what we're aiming to do.
Mr Quigley, Bob Kersley from the Press Club. As of today, how do you rate the chances of securing that deal with Telstra? And what role do you see for Telstra if you don't secure it?
Okay, well, it's really not up to me to say what role I see if a deal wasn't to happen. I've done a number of deals in my working life, and they're very difficult, obviously, to predict. I've seen deals that look like they're almost a surety fall over in the last minute, and I've seen deals that look really hard, and then right at the last minute it all comes together and they happen. This is a very complex one. I'd have to say I think there's goodwill on both parties. We've been at it for a while. There's big amounts of money. Both companies are trying to look after the best interests of their shareholder. We're acutely conscious that what we're negotiating about here is public money, so we're trying to make sure we get the best possible deal, but understanding also that Telstra needs to look after their shareholders. I think, and I've said this right from the beginning, there's absolutely a win-win in this. It's if we can reuse the existing infrastructure and find a sensible way to evolve the existing copper network into fibre and not end up duplicating, that's a good day. But having said that, it's still very involved, very complex, and we're going hard at it. Both companies are working very hard and continuing to work very hard. I would, having done many courses in statistics, I know of no probability distribution for this type of deal, so I won't hazard an estimate of the likelihood of the deal. All I'd say is it's going pretty well. We're all working hard at it.
Last question.
Cliff Peel, Melbourne Press Club. I want to go right back to basics. I've retired. A number of other people talked to me about the National Broadband Network. I've got a computer, I've got a landline phone, I've got a mobile phone. I'm a taxpayer. What does it really mean to us who are not in small business, not in large business or anything? Where are we? What part do we play in it?
Okay, so I think it's a very good question. What does it mean for the average person who's got these services? What it means is you will, no doubt, if you've got a mobile phone, you'll continue to use a mobile phone. What it may mean in the future is that, particularly if you're starting to use an iPhone or something even more sophisticated with larger screens, it may mean as you come into your home, that phone switches onto the fixed line, if you've got a fibre line into the home, to carry that traffic. And then when you move out of your premise again, you'll go onto the mobile network and you can roam all over the place. That type of thing will happen. What it will also mean is obviously there are increasing speeds that you can get and increasing capacities on the fibre network. So people may no longer have all of their applications residing on their PC at home. They may be up in the network, what's called cloud services, so that, for example, Microsoft won't come and shut your PC down to upload the next version of software. That'll all happen, all be looked after, all that security stuff will happen in the network, and you can just run the service provided you have those high speeds. What I think is even more important, if you're a student or if you're a person who's an elderly person, you can get a whole raft of services that you can't get today. So remote education, and in some of the talks I give, I show some of these applications, but I'll just mention one. It's one I'm director of a neuroscience research institute, and work's been going on in this area of, believe it or not, one of the big factors in elderly people in their health is falls. It sounds relatively simple, but if an elderly person falls, you find their health declines very rapidly, and the costs on the health system also goes up very rapidly. So if you can prevent elderly people from falling, then you make a real difference. Now, there's a whole bunch of experiments going on and trials going on, not just in Australia, but other parts of the world, where if you can get elderly people in social activities in their home on a large screen doing dance routines. So they can do this it's like gaming technology, but it's about dance routines, and the steps that they make are specifically designed to, one, exercise the particular muscles that are important to recover for when you go to stumble, and secondly, doing those things actually creates new connections in their brain. Even at ages of 80 and above, you can still make new connections in your brain. So what they're finding is there's a very strong correlation between the propensity for people to fall and the amount of activity they have in those social interactions which require, they don't have to come to a centre, they can do it in their home, in a group, just like you do multi-gaming. But these aren't multi-gamers, these are elderly people doing, frankly, physiotherapy at home. Now, that's the kind of application, it's just one. We're starting to see more and more of these things being developed around the place. I think this will make a real difference to people's lives. So it's not just health, it's education, it's other areas. So that's why I guess we're so enthusiastic to work our way through all of these obstacles, whether they're political or negotiations or whatever, and get on and build this network. So I think that was it.
I certainly said enthusiastic and passionate, and you've seen it here today. Could I call on Michael Duffy from Monash?